feedback is so valuable because it's the one thing we can't get on our own. We can't know how our behavior impacted somebody else. We can only know what we intended. So when somebody's willing to share with us how our behavior landed with them, it's absolutely amazing. Unfortunately, most of us are pretty darn bad at it. And what we do instead is we pass judgment, or we give instruction, or we share advice. None of those things are feedback. So let's talk about, how do we deliver a great piece of feedback? I'm going to start with delivering a piece of positive feedback because it's a much better place to practice. If you practice with giving negative feedback and get it wrong, you might get an angry person coming back at you. If you give positive feedback and do a bit of a kludgy job of it, everything will be okay. So let's talk about the steps. There are 4 steps in giving really effective feedback. The first is to orient the person to the situation you're talking about. And that's because when you have a really positive interaction with somebody, you walk away and you're still thinking about it later. You're thinking like, wow, that person's so smart, or they made me feel amazing in that conversation. You've been thinking about it, but they haven't. And so if you just come in and go, wow, you're so smart, I'll be like, okay. So you want to orient them by just simply saying something like, on our Teams call this morning. That's all it takes, something very simple, just to orient them to what we're talking about. The second step is one of the most important steps, and probably the hardest, the one most of us get wrong, which is we tend to only want to give feedback to somebody when we're judging them. In this case, we're judging them because they've done something that we think is amazing. But judgment isn't very helpful. So we want to translate. That's the second step, translating from the judgment we're making to what was the behavior that caused us to feel that way. So you might say, in our Teams meeting this morning, when you were adding a bunch of notes in the chat, that might be the behavior. Okay, so you translate from, wow, you were really helpful on our Teams call this morning, that's judgment, to you added a bunch of notes during the presentation. The third step is to expose to people, because this is what's new and what they won't be able to see without you, expose how that impacted you. So you might say, I was feeling really stupid in the presentation. They were using acronyms I didn't understand. And when you were just quietly putting those in the chat, I could keep up. I felt so much better. I didn't feel so daft. That's the impact that their behavior had on you. The fourth and final step is to invite the person to share their truth with you. What you've given them is your truth. I thought that the comments in the chat were really helpful. Somebody else might not have liked it at all, but you liked it. But now you get a chance to kind of hand it over to them, give them a chance to work with your feedback. So you might say, how did you get so knowledgeable on this? Or what else could you teach me to make sure I'm up to speed on this topic? When we ask that question at the end, we kind of hand over the baton of the feedback to the other person so that they can internalize it and work with it. So it's a really good way to come full circle on feedback. And in some cases, and you'll see in the next video when we talk about giving negative feedback, it's a really important place for them to then share their truth, to make feedback a dialogue instead of just your monologue. So feedback is so valuable. Getting positive feedback where we get more insight about how our choices had great impacts on other people, it's the best. But it's so rare because we don't know the mechanics of how to do it well. So just remember, you're trying to share with somebody else that their behavior had a certain impact on you. Orient them to the situation, translate from judgment into behavior, expose your reaction and your impact, and then invite them to a discussion about their truth of the matter. Okay, that's positive feedback. Next up, negative feedback.